Hey gang, let's start today off by seeing what's going on in the news.
Global chocolate behemoth Nestle is continuing to expand beyond its key sweet tooth business, taking over full ownership of Immune Therapeutics, the U.S. based maker of the first and only peanut allergy treatment for children approved by the Food and Drug Administration for $2 billion. The deal announced Monday will add more firepower to the Nestle Health Science Unit set up in 2011 to explore the intersection of food and pharma. It is estimated that 1.6 million teens and children in the U.S. alone have peanut allergies, and some 240 million people worldwide suffer from food allergies, with peanut allergy being the most common. With the Nestle Immune deal, Nestle will have access to prevention, diagnostic, and medical treatment options, which could eventually rake in billions of dollars in sales.
Ah, come on! Well, let's take our mind off of some bad news by talking about retributivism. This feels so stupid. There's so much going wrong. There's so much bad. I'm trying to keep it together for you guys, and it's not working. But, retributivism is covered in chapter 1 of the book, which I ask you to read. And, it's a very popular idea. This is usually what most people think of when we think of punishment. And the idea is that you deserve punishment in proportion to your crime. You do the crime, you do the time. There's two important things to pin down here, and those are the ideas of desert and proportionality. So, this whole theory of retributivism naturally ties up with some of the problems of legal moralism that we talked about last time. All crimes aren't necessarily wrong. There's mala prohibita, the things that we call wrong just because we don't want people to do them. Like driving on the right side of the road. It's not like bad, like Brits aren't evil for driving on the left side of the road. We just need to come to some kind of agreement. So it's not as much of a problem for mala in se crimes, things that are just dead ass wrong in and of themselves. So, again, how do we decide what's actually wrong enough to deserve punishment? Before we go further, the book makes a distinction, and I want to point out the distinction between vengeance and retributivism. Retributivism is public punishment. It's not private like vengeance is. It's from and for the community. It's about a wrong against the community, and we as a community are doing it. And retributivism has limits, namely that you should only be punished in proportion to your crime, whereas vengeance has no limits. I guess that can be a question of justice too. Where do we draw the lines? But we'll talk about that one later. We have to ask ourselves, does retributivism leave room for mercy? They deserve the punishment. Is it then immoral for us to stay our hands? Are we obligated to punish those who are deserving? And it's real easy to think of like, wow, how could this person did this terrible thing? It is inexcusable. But there's also people who do bad things for maybe okay reasons, or have done bad things and have reformed, or something like that. Do they still deserve punishment? A more deontological view here. Deontological means based on a pre-existing duty. It's not so concerned with any consequences of that punishment. It's the fact that we have a duty to punish those who deserve it. So consequences, positive or negative, don't fit into it. it's would be a more utilitarian way of looking at things. Utilitarians look at consequences. It's a very consequentialist way of looking at the world. Like they care about outcomes. You can check one of my other videos for more on deontology and utilitarianism. I'll link that down below in the description. But to a bigger problem, what does it mean to say someone deserves punishment? Who are we to decide that? What do we base it on? Do we base it on religious precepts? Logical precepts? How do causality, like you caused this harm, and intention, you intended to cause this harm, play into moral responsibility for harm? How do we compare the wrongness of crimes? Sure, murder is worse than theft, but like, how much worse? And again, what about mala prohibita? We want to punish people when they're driving on the wrong side of the road, or if you're like speeding but not too bad and there's nobody really around anyway. How does a retributivist answer these problems? And speaking of intent, how do we even know somebody intended harm in a way that makes them morally responsible? I mean, there's evidence we can look at, I guess, but as Kant says on page 23, the real morality of actions, their merit or guilt, even that of our own conduct, thus remains entirely hidden from us. Our imputations can refer only to the empirical character. How much of this character is ascribable to the pure effect of freedom, how much to mere nature, that is, to faults of temperament for which there is no responsibility, or to its happy constitution, can never be determined. And upon it, therefore, no perfectly just judgments can be passed. Basically, we can't read people's minds. We just have to guess. So how do we deal with that problem? Can we never really know? So does knowing beyond a reasonable doubt that someone should die for killing someone else ever really make sense? We've been wrong before. What solutions are there for that problem? And on top of that, there's just the basic problem of anything dealing with morality. Whose morality? Whose justice? Like, different people are going to think different crimes deserve different punishments. So I'm going to stop there on this one. For that's just the first half of the chapter up through desert, and cover the problems of proportional punishment in a later video. So for now, just pages 13 through 26 for this video. For now, answer these questions. Hit me with any that you have. And stay strong, y'all. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.